Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, the following program may include profane language, controversial viewpoints, and perspectives on the true nature of reality so far removed from the status quo, they'll make your head spin like a top. Young children, corporate executives, and religious fundamentalists should turn away now.
Greetings, Earthlings and visitors. Welcome to Extraordinary Year, the online show that puts everyday people with questions about 2012 on the road to understanding. I'm Tim Bravo, and I'm glad you've joined us tonight, 218 days until December 21st, 2012. With me are Steiny and Canada. And remember, if you like the show, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/extraordinaryyear. Like us there, too. In fact, head on over there now because all the stuff we're going to be talking about tonight is already over there, and you can just kind of get up to speed and know what we're talking about before we even get to it. We were scheduled to sit down with filmmaker Michael J. Murphy this evening to discuss his upcoming documentary, Why in the World Are They Spraying? Unfortunately, Mr. Murphy called me from the road this afternoon, and he's actually busy with the production on the film tonight. So we've rescheduled our interview with him for next Wednesday. So make sure you tune in next Wednesday to hear everything he's got to say about chemtrails and all that business. I know some of our listeners were really looking forward to hearing from him tonight, and both he and I were also looking forward to it. So, you know, c'est la vie. It is what it is. We'll have our talk next week, and everything will be as it should be. I hope listeners who are tuning in specifically to hear that will stay with us for tonight and come back for the Michael Murphy interview next week because we have so much to talk about still tonight. To that end, here's what we have in store, kids. There's still a desperate need for everyday people to be made aware of the new energy technology that's being suppressed by the cabal and what it would mean for everyone on this planet if it were released. But what can you do about it? We'll discuss. Also, there's some pretty awesome new evidence of UFOs to talk about, including video of 5 UFOs disappearing over the edge of the moon brought forth by astronomers, a remarkable image captured by the LASCO or by the SOHO satellite, some relatively dramatic UFO action from one of my own video uploads I totally overlooked until a couple days ago. The mainstream science community might be opening their minds to look at our planet as a living organism in its own right. This is known as the Gaia hypothesis, and it reflects what the spiritual community has been saying for eons. So that's interesting. There's a new collective meditation scheduled for this weekend to tell you about, and fascinating testimony that one of our presidents wasn't born in America. No, I'm not talking about Barack Obama. I'm referring to George Herbert Walker Bush, or George Sherf Jr., as he may in fact have been born. If we have time, there are several news items from last week we didn't get to that I think they bear mentioning. So we've got more than enough on our plate tonight, guys. As always, we invite you, the listener, to call us with your questions and comments live at the number you'll find at the top of the episode page, 858-956-2147. And as always, you can post questions and talk amongst yourselves in the chat room. So, new energy awareness. I'm just going to kind of go on a rant here. Real quick, I just wanted to let Matt and David say hi to everybody because I'm gonna kind of monopolize the next few minutes. So, guys, what's up?
What's going on, man?
What's up, man?
Thanks for bearing with me, guys, because I really, I've been listening, or not listening to, I've been reading Breakthrough Power, which is the book by Joel Garvin and Gene Manning, our guests a few weeks back, and I went ahead and I bought the book on Kindle. It's like $6 delivered directly to my Droid, and I've been reading it, and man, I just can't get enough of it. It's such great stuff. It's reinvigorated my sense of wonder about the whole universe, dudes. It's full of amazing discoveries about how the background energy of this universe can be tapped anywhere and everywhere. I mean, we are talking, it is truly limitless. Learning about inventors whose names should be in science and history textbooks, but they're not. Instead, they and their inventions are scrubbed from the collective memory. The stuff turns... Stop? What was that? Okay.
Oh, sorry, man. No, my phone's acting up, so sorry.
Okay.
It's fixed now.
Anyway, this stuff turns conventional science on its head. It renews my conviction that this is one of the most important things that could happen right now, is for people right now today to to educate every last person on this planet about these technologies and their potential. There's nothing more important. Here's what I realized, guys. With just the technologies, this is what I was thinking about last night, and I've been thinking about it ever since. With just the technologies that we know about, that have been brought forth by human hands and minds, notwithstanding any tech that might be gifted to us by a higher civilization, with just the tech that we know about that's been brought forth through human minds, this world, the world we know, could be different. What we know about this tech, this is what we could have now. We could have a world with no gas stations, no need to fuel anything ever, no need for a battery ever, which means no batteries in landfills, no toxic chemicals and heavy metals seeping from them into drinking water. As for landfills, we could be making them disappear by burning through all the trash we've already made with plasma vaporizers and then using that energy too. I'm talking about a world with no power lines, no natural gas lines, which means no fracking, which means no air pollution from fracking, which means no water pollution from fracking, which means no power bills, no gas bills, no more diesel exhaust giving kids asthma, no more jet fuel particulates draped across the atmosphere, regardless of chemtrails, no more mountaintops blown up to get at coal, no more coal plants, no more nuclear plants, no more nuclear wastes. Here's where things really get interesting for me. With anti-gravity, we know of. With anti-gravity vehicles, we don't need roads, which means no asphalt, which, by the way, is made with oil, which means no roadkill, which means no roadkill karma, no tires to run over any organisms. Even better, check this out, guys. No car accidents. Anti-gravity vehicles have their own gravity fields. So even if vehicles collided, you're talking no injuries or death, ever. Imagine an end to car accident deaths. This is the world we could have right now, and the people who run this planet know it, and they're keeping us from it. What could be more important than making sure everyone with a pulse knows about this stuff? What? Seriously, what could be more important? Think of the unnecessary suffering that will happen tomorrow, because these evil bastards are too selfish to allow the world to be the place that it can be. Tomorrow, hundreds of people will die in car accidents. They don't need to. Tomorrow, millions of tears will be shed by thousands of people at unnecessary funerals. Tomorrow, hundreds of kids will develop asthma that they don't need to have. How many babies are going to be born tomorrow with malformed bodies and diminished IQs? It's a fact that those things will happen tomorrow. It's also a fact they don't have to. It's a fact. It doesn't have to happen, but it's gonna. So what can you do about it? Number one, educate yourself. Educate yourself. I'm not saying go read this book. I mean, I'd love it if you did, because I think it's a wonderful book. I'm enjoying it myself. But there are quite a few books like this. Go educate yourself about these technologies. Go check out what the New Energy Congress has got. Check out the New Energy Movement. Educate yourself and then educate others. Do whatever you can to educate other people. Don't worry about their feelings. Don't worry about what they're going to think about you, because you're right and you know these things are real. And they need to know. They need to at least have it put in front of them so they can either choose to accept it or deny it. But they don't even have that choice because all this information is suppressed. This affects every last person alive. This affects every person who will be born anytime soon. That's 7 billion living people and untold billions of babies. Do it for the babies, baby. I ask you, what could be more important? Not that Tiger Woods' ex is single again, which, by the way, was the top story on Yahoo News when I checked before the program. Come on, Earthlings. It is up to us to turn this shit around. Let's get off our asses and quit being like John Mayer and waiting for the world to change. Let's get out there and make people uncomfortable. Let's get out there and educate people. Who's with me? Are you guys with me?
For sure.
I'm serious about this, man. I mean, like I said, I'm reinvigorated, and I just don't see anything that could be possibly more important than making sure people know about this. So, I expect as time rolls on, I'm going to be cooking up some way to try and, break through the most people possible to make the biggest dent possible. And see what we can do to get some balls rolling along these lines. So anyway, end of rant. I just wanted to take the top of the show because this stuff has been on my mind, and I think it's the most important thing to talk about, so I wanted to get it out of the way. So there, I said my piece. Sound off.
Well, I don't really. You kind of said it all, brother. You know.
I probably said more than I needed to. Okay, well, I'm going to move on. We've got new UFO evidence to talk about tonight. I'm going to start with something that our friend Taylor Rose brought forth just before the show. She let me know that Lee Spiegel, who is a writer I'm actually familiar with, he writes for the Huffington Post about UFOs type stuff. And apparently he posted today a story about a former colonel named John Alexander. There's a guy who's a military insider, top secret clearance, and he has asked the top brass, and by that I mean Leon Panetta, to give amnesty to service members who come forward with testimony about UFOs, even if they've previously been sworn to secrecy. So this is possibly huge news. One, it's in the Huffington Post, which we've discussed is, one of the... It might be a progressive rag, but it's still mainstream media. A lot of people read it, and that headline's going across a lot of people's. It's a blip on some radar screens there. So, I think it's an interesting headline, and I have a feeling that a lot of people, thousands of people, are going to be reading that story and wondering, whoa, why would this Air Force guy actually come out and say this stuff? Unless he knew something himself. Also, the Soho satellite recently, I think it was May 2nd, captured an image. A lot of Soho images have been talked about lately, but this particular one was of a disc in the lower left corner of the image, and it was very clear. In the middle of the disc was a dark spot or hole, and then on one edge was kind of a notch in the disc, which is identical to the craft that we saw in the famous Space Shuttle tether incident. I mean, I'm serious. It was like identical. Maybe the center hole wasn't exactly the same size in relation to the rest of the craft, but the notch was there. And this was on Soho. This was the satellite that's pointed at the sun, and it just showed up in the image and stayed there for several rounds of images and then just disappeared. Just shows up and then just disappears. But here's the deal. This is a NASA satellite, guys. This is a government satellite, and the feed is coming through the government, and it's public information, but it's coming from the government source, from government's technology. It's there for everybody, and I don't know how you dismiss or debunk a disc, especially when that same disc, that same form showed up 2 years ago to the day. The same day of the year, same type of craft showed up on the Soho satellite. Same type of craft that we saw in the famous tether incident. So, to me, that's huge, and nobody's talking about it. And the original video that I found about it seems to have disappeared. It seems to have been removed from YouTube. So, the plot thickens. And I wanted to make sure that people knew that this had happened. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, two astronomers who are affiliated with Arizona State University have released a video of the moon, of the edge of the moon, where they show 5 different ships moving over the horizon of the moon. Like, it looks like 4 of them move from, the front part of the moon. They just kind of come into, solidity. I don't know if they're multidimensional or what, but they just about the edge of the moon, they show up and then, over the course of a second or two, disappear. They're moving. They disappear over the back edge toward the dark side of the moon. And then one of them, like it actually was moving the other direction, like over the front-facing side of the moon, and then blended in with the rest of the moon. So, I mean, it's motion video, and it's 5 ships released by astronomers. How are you going to debunk that?
Hey,
it's unmistakable.
Tim,
it's undebunkable.
Where can we find that? I heard you talk about it at the top of the show.
Well, you can find
posted
anything. You know where to find it. You can find anything we talk about on our Facebook page. I have yet to educate David and Matt on the finer points of our Facebook page. You guys.
We're looking.
What's the title?
Say what?
Stone spotted in your son?
Let's see. If you go to the Facebook page right now, just, you know what? Hit Control F and type in MOON, spells moon. And, apparently there's nothing on our page that says moon. What's up with that? I swear it was just there. Oh, it's under more recent stories. You're going to have to open up more recent stories, and then you should be able to find it. Yeah. And so it's down on the right-hand side of the page. The headline is, the Canadian National Newspaper, astronomers report 5 UFOs on moon suggest intelligent alien life. It's there. And I promise, go watch it. Go watch the video. I mean, it's not, like, astonishing, like, you know, you can see the lights in every freaking rivet on the craft or anything like that. It's they're looking at the moon, and it's the horizon of the moon. But whatever these craft are, have to be fairly decent sized and just to be seen. And they're definitely there. They're definitely moving.
Well, I got a question, Tim.
Bring it.
We know that these higher people, you know, they obviously know about this technology and they have it. And you know, who's to say that these discs or these objects that are flying around the moon are crafts, man-made, with a base on the other side of the moon.
Well, they could be. But our government is not coming clean and saying that they've got those craft on the moon. According to our government, we haven't been to the moon since the 70s.
Right.
So what's going on? And, it really begs an explanation from our government. You know, if they are our craft, they need to come clean. And if they have to come clean on that, then they have to basically say, look, yeah, we've had it and we lied about it and we've hidden it. And they don't want to do that. And if it's not, and if they don't come clean and say, yeah, that's our stuff, then they have to say, well, that's not our stuff, which I guess they could come say, well, maybe it's the Soviets, maybe it's the Chinese, maybe it's India.
Right.
Maybe it's Syrians. Maybe it's Pleiadians, Maybe it's Arcturians. Maybe it's Andromedans. But, they're not going to want to admit any of that. They're not even going to want to touch it. So they're going to ignore it. They're not going to respond to any requests to explain it. And it's going to go away because people are more worried about Tiger Woods' ex and, who she's hooked up with, or, how long coffee drinkers live, or whatever the news is that doesn't matter. So we talked about UFOs in front of the sun. We talked about UFOs over the moon. What about Earth? Well, like I said at the top of the show, I was recently looking over one of the videos that I downloaded from MUFON's UFO database and uploaded. It's called 3 UFOs over Hobstadt, Indiana. It was taken April 21st this year. And I recently re-looked at it and kind of watched it. And there's a section where this light that's, on the video, all of a sudden at the one, like a minute and a half in, it just goes zip. It just quickly zips like halfway across the screen and then quickly stops. It is not a Chinese lantern. It is like it's sitting there, it's hovering, it's slowly moving, and then it's quickly moving, and then it's quickly stopping, and then it's just hovering again. And that's a UFO. Whether or not it's man-made or, an extra-dimensional craft or an extraterrestrial craft or however you want to look at it, there's something there that needs to be explained, and there's something there, period. And so why aren't we talking about this as a civilization? So that's what I've got. I haven't seen anything. If anybody out there listening has seen anything recently, give us a call. If you had a sighting, give us a call. It's 858-956-2147. So Matt, other than the interesting little chemtrail you saw the other day, you guys haven't caught any wonderful stuff in the sky, have you?
Actually, I saw another one of those weird chemtrails you talk about. I call them contrails because I don't know if I buy into everything. But I will say it's weird because I know a little something about, aeronautics and aircraft, and I know they don't make course corrections like that at altitude, unless, of course, they're testing, I guess. But I don't know. It seemed weird to me that two, within a week of each other, seemed weird to me.
Within a week? Shit, dude. It happens all the time. It happens. Well, I have to say it's been less so in the Wichita area recently in the last couple of weeks, but it goes through cycles where if they need to create weather in a certain area and it helps them to put them over Wichita, they do it, and for whatever other reason they happen to do it. Exactly, dude. I really wish.
Right?
That's the why in the world are they spraying that Michael J. Murphy is looking to answer. And basically, it looks like, based on the trailer, which you can find, and if you can watch that trailer that's on our Facebook page for why in the world are they spraying, Matt, and still come away with it with questions, I'm going to be amazed. Because
I get it.
That trailer does a good job of explaining what's going on and connecting the dots without even having to watch the full movie, which apparently is still in production. But what I find interesting is, when you're watching these planes and you've watched these banks of clouds that they've created, you've watched them create them. How is it that you just got a regular contrail, and then they come up close to one of these cloud banks that they've been building, that you can watch them build, and then all of a sudden that contrail becomes persistent about the time that the plane approaches that cloud bank. And then about the time that it gets over that cloud bank, all of a sudden that persistent contrail turns into just a regular contrail again until it comes up to another cloud bank. Then all of a sudden, boom, it turns it on. Well, you can watch satellite photos of them building these things.
Like, here's the way I've come to understand it so far is that in regards to starting weather, seeding clouds for rain, et cetera, like, I've seen the studies and the, preliminary, well, we're going to experiment with this, and, I guess it produced some results, but nobody ever says they're doing it over the United States. So it makes you wonder what are they spraying? And I'm actually eager to see these documentaries because I want to be proven wrong, to be honest, because the way I've come to understand it is that regardless of what they're spraying and why they're spraying it, getting back to free energy, there's no reason that we need to pump petrochemicals through turbine engines so we can fly through the fucking air. We can do the same thing and do it more efficiently with a hydrogen gas. And
or anti-gravity technology that we have.
Yeah, and then those contrails that you see aren't, we're not going to have to worry about what chemicals are in them from the exhaust or from cloud seeding or whatever the weather, whatever they're trying to fucking do. Like, it'll just be water vapor. That
instead
would be
of
nice.
aluminum and barium and strontium, etc., which basically, by the way, has been proven. And which basically have been found in amazingly retarded concentrations around the entire planet, including the poles. So this stuff that they're tossing around in the air is not contrails, brother. And it's enveloped the entire planet and sifted down to the ground over the entire planet and can be found sitting on the ice in concentrations that make no sense because they're tossing it around with these chemtrails. The question is why? Why are they tossing all this aluminum that blocks nutrients from being, pulled up through the roots of plant life, and blocks sun? First of all, a lot of it's blocking sun. It's sending the sun back out into space. Okay, well, the trees aren't doing so hot these days because of it. Neither are crops. It's really affecting, and we don't have a say in it. They won't even acknowledge that it's happening. let alone try to justify it. We don't have a say in it. Neither does, I know neither of you guys have kids yet, but I've got kids. My kids don't have a say in it. I don't have a say in whether or not my kids have to breathe this crap. And that's not freedom. That's not justice. That's not liberty. It's not right. It's plain flat out wrong. But they won't even acknowledge it's happening. And you know that the guys at the top all know it's happening. So for all those people out there who like to say that Barack Obama's just biding his time and he's working for the light, I prove it. Because as far as I can tell, he's going around sending air drones to kill people all over the planet. And there have been plenty of innocent deaths at the hands of Barack Obama. That, to me, does not make the mark of a warrior of the light. So I have questions, serious questions about him, his motivation. And you know what? When it all comes down and everything is made known, I reserve the right to change my opinion. But right now, his actions do not point to a good human being, if you ask me. Okay, so you guys can tell I'm feeling passionate tonight. So take me with a grain of salt, and don't put too much into anything I'm saying here. But I'm frustrated and I'm worked up, and I'm just ready for stuff to change. I'm just tired of the way things are, and I don't want my kids and future generations to have to grow up in this world that's being run by these maniacs who don't care about anybody but themselves and their bottom lines, who have an agenda to actually kill us. That's not cool with me.
Hey, if I know that tonight was going to be kind of a where things stand kind of show, and if I may, if it's not too off topic, I'd like to kind of direct you towards something. I mean, you talk about being passionate tonight, and I don't know about you, but I've been having some more fucked up dreams lately, dude, and it's something we've talked about before, like maybe our vibrations, our conscious vibrations are, causing more frequent rise and crazy weird dreams. But I've been having them. I don't know, have you been experiencing anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Man, my dreams have been crazy, but like the last time that you brought this up, you had said you were having crazy dreams, but don't ask you what they were. Well, my situation is kind of like that. I've been in the kinds of dreams where things aren't even really physical. I don't even know how to explain it. I just it's been pretty mental. And so yeah, I'm right there with you every night, every morning. I'm coming out of dreams. This morning is no exception. Coming out of dreams when I wake up just going, wow, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
How about you? Do you have any specifics you can lay on us?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point where I can wake up in the morning and remember them. Like, I know this morning I woke up and I had a dream where I basically just freaking got in a huge fight with everyone I met that day. And, shit went down, and I don't know, it was kind of a nightmare, dude, if I could describe it any other way. Not like monsters or crazy world coming to an end, but just like, shit on a personal level, like an everyday person-to-person level. Like, my dreams have been getting real interpersonal to the point where, like, people that I know in my life, in my real life, are just showing up in my dreams, and just crazy weird shit's happening, I don't know if that says anything about my vibrations, my consciousness with people around me, or if it's something, on a larger scale with the universe and everything, but
I could definitely relate that, mine have been a little more on a personal level too, I think. Like one of the specifics that I can remember, like I just told Taylor in the chat room, I have no idea what this is about, but I was walking, I was at a Mexican resort. You guys know I was actually recently at a Mexican resort, so that's kind of funny. This wasn't the same place though, but for whatever reason I knew it was. a Mexican resort, and I'm walking along some path, and I come across this group of 3-4 guys, and they were like wearing blue scrubs, like dark blue scrubs, and one of them is Kevin Bacon. So I like stop him. I'm like, hand one of the other guys my droid, and like even I remember showing him the button to push to take a picture, so I could have a picture with Kevin Bacon.
No.
I don't know what that's about. That's like the one tidbit that I remember. For whatever reason, like this guy who was playing Kevin Bacon in the dream seemed to me like, okay, yeah, he initially looked like Kevin Bacon, and then after I engaged him, he decided to go ahead and try and talk to me. But I got the sense that, one, he wasn't a figment of my dream. He wasn't a figment of my imagination. This was an entity. And two, it wasn't Kevin Bacon. This was somebody in a Kevin Bacon suit, especially after I, had, like, oh, that guy looks like Kevin Bacon or whatever. And why he was wearing, like dark blue scrubs. What's that? So anyway, that's like the only specifics I remember. But, it's very personal. It's weird. It's fairly vivid, but it doesn't mean anything to me. So I don't know what's up with that.
I don't know, man. I think everybody as a whole, as a civilization, as humanity, is starting to like resonate on spiritual and conscious vibrations that are just, you know what I mean by resonate? Like,
well, you're talking about vibrations, and I know you mean like sympathetic resonation.
Yeah, I feel your
like
passion
harmony
tonight because, yeah, and I feel like maybe things are starting to move towards that. I don't know. That's just me in my own world here, but
well,
I feel like
vibration and harmony have been kind of the watchwords with me the past few days too. Those things, those concepts have been blipping across my radar screen. So it's kind of funny that you say it.
Well, I think, working towards an understanding with people around you is kind of paramount here, and it's everyday stuff. Like, hell, it's like being polite. That's all you really need to do to start, getting everybody on these vibrations. Start, understanding and embracing all these views and concerns and values. And I feel lately, at least people in my own direct vicinity have started to get on those vibrations. Started working towards understanding. And look, if it takes something as easy as opening the door for someone, or just mutual agreement or mutual respect between two people,
or letting somebody in traffic.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm probably the worst road rage culprit out there, but I don't know.
No need to be angry, Matt.
I know. I'm just an angry person.
You weren't the guy that pointed the gun at the chick at 21st and Mays the other day, were you?
What? No, I didn't know about that.
Hey.
Some road rage act, some guy pulls a gun on the lady.
Yeah. Road construction, it'll make you do funny things.
It'll make me
talking about resonation and everybody being on the kind of the same wavelength and things working together as a whole. Along those lines, there's something called the Gaia hypothesis. And basically what that says is Earth, Gaia, is a living organism. Is a sentient being. And we live upon her but are part of her. And it's pertinent because phys.org, which is a science website, science news site, particularly physics, released a very interesting piece the past couple days. This is a website. The stuff that they put out is often very technical. It's not casual reading. It's not for people who aren't science-minded generally. There's some stuff like when I come to it, I'm like, no, I don't even begin to fathom what the hell it is they're talking about. It's just way too technical, and I don't have the basic understanding of the stuff that they're talking about to follow what it is. Even looking at the headlines, I'm like, I have no idea what you just told me. But they released a report that apparently talking about a published study from scientists at the University of Maryland that supports the Gaia theory. And the headline basically says so specifically, which I think is pretty interesting, being on phys.org. Which phys, when I say phys, I mean PHYS, as in physics, phys.org. Saying that this study at the University of Maryland supports the Gaia theory, to me, I have to ask the question, is mainstream science opening their minds to, oneness, which is, the basis of everything, as we've often said on this show. Oneness is the undercurrent of everything. Everything is one. All is one. At the end, this is all an illusion that we're just one thing playing a game with itself. You are just my other self.
I'm sorry. Cue me in.
Oh, here we go.
Und jetzt seid ihr Einstein.
Okay, well, it's not a quote, I have to admit, but it is paraphrasing for Einstein. He was working, up until the day he died to find the formula. He called it the God's formula. That was a formula for everything that, would explain the oneness of the universe in just one gloriously mathematic, equation that, would ultimately reveal the mind of God. That's, one thing that he worked towards. But, you talk about mainstream science accepting that. You can't get much more mainstream than Einstein. Like, he created, he helped with the nuclear bomb, and, he came up with the first,
well, he's the father of
relativity, and just Einstein's one of those that you talk about with mainstream science. And if he was one that could kind of jump on that bandwagon, why hasn't anybody else in mainstream science done it?
Because it's a dogmatic group of people who don't get to advance unless they follow the dogma, and if they're not going to follow the dogma, if they're going to go against the decided scientific religion, if they're going to try to buck the trend, they're not going to advance. I mean, it's not that they don't, it's just you never hear about them, or you never hear about them again. They know that they would basically be committing career suicide to go against the religious scientific dogma, and it is practically a religion.
Dogma is in everything, including religion. I mean, dogma is kind of...
Dogma's on this show.
Yeah.
Because even I can tend to be dogmatic and closed-minded, so I think we all can.
Yeah.
Steve Becko was saying something along those lines today about the ego kind of taking over and closing minds, and even if you think you're open-minded, that ego has a funny way of just making sure that you only see it from your point of view, and everything that you see from the viewpoint of yourself. And so how does it fit into how I already see the world?
I think that's something that every human being on this planet shares. That's one of those inevitabilities, those intrinsic fucking things that we all deal with. We all deal with death, life in general, and then I think everybody does tend to have, some dogmatic, closed-minded leniency towards, some idea. And then, that kind of, everybody does it. Everybody has that, where they'll kind of, this is the way I know it, this is the way it's going to be, I don't care what you have to say. And I think that's part of oneness and vibrations and getting everything on there, is that nobody ever is going to actually understand everything. People tell you every day, I understand what you're going through, or I understand where you're coming from. And I say, but oftentimes we're all still just, like you said, dogmatic. I don't know, you kind of summed it up, so.
Well, talking about oneness, which keeps popping into our conversation here, you guys remember our global liberation day we did back on Cinco de Mayo
Right. I actually partook in that.
Did you? Cool. Yeah, Monica and I did that. That was fun. Well, there's a new one, and I want to let people know about it. Yeah, there's a new meditation. It's scheduled for this weekend, May 20th, which is Sunday. And it's, instead of doing it all at different times or whatever, depending on your time zone, the idea is to do it during the eclipse, while the eclipse passes over your time zone. So like everybody in a time zone kind of gets together and does it collectively at the same time. Now that's not to say that you can't do this meditation and keep envisioning, our liberation, liberty for mankind from this dark cabal, envisioning them going down and us having complete freedom and all these new energies being released, or, abundance economy being released, or whatever it is that we want to envision. But it will work best if as many people as possible can get together with as much emotion and passion as possible at the same time. So check our Facebook page for the meditation. I've posted all the different times for different time zones of when your time zone is supposed to do the meditation. So check that out. And if this is your sort of thing, if you believe in visualization as strongly as I do, then I highly recommend and encourage you to find the time zone, sit down, quiet your mind a few minutes beforehand, and then visualize the same thing that other people are visualizing in your area at the same time on May 20th, Sunday. It's Sunday night, so, it's not like anything, it should get in the way of anything, Get your partying out of the way Saturday night, and then, Sunday evening, just kind of sit around, quiet your mind, and at the proper time, let's work together, because we all know, at least most listeners to this show are probably aware of the idea that thought creates reality. This reality is really an illusion, and the matter around us solidifies around our thoughts. What we see in front of us is just our previous thoughts come into reality. So let's reprogram the matrix together. So check this story on our Facebook page for your local time. Now, this next story that I want to talk to you guys about may be the most interesting thing we talk about tonight. And let's see, we've got about 15 minutes left. So I want to move on to the story of an American president who was not born in America. And I'm not talking about...
I'm excited about this.
Not talking about Barack Obama.
I know. I'm even more excited about hearing who it was.
The past few years, there's been a lot of talk about a U.S. president not being born in this country. And the people who, propound this idea are called birthers. And they're made fun of. And I'm not going to go into the merits or, whether or not the whole Barack Obama thing should be even paid attention to. That's not what this is about. I want to talk about a different kind of birther mentality, and one based on some pretty interesting testimony. Now, I'm not talking about Barack Obama. I'm talking about our 41st president, Papa Bush, George H.W. Bush. This all comes from the deathbed confessions of Otto Skorzeny, who is famous for being Hitler's bodyguard. And I'll get to Dr. Webster Tarpley, who's kind of brought all this forward. But back when he was on his deathbed, Skorzeny apparently had a lot to say. One of the things that's come forward previously is that he confessed to killing Nikola Tesla. Like, went and visited him and then strangled the old man to death. And part of it was they took some evidence or research or whatever that's obviously never been found since. And, this is a guy who's not had a life where he was not a really good guy. He was a big guy, he was an imposing guy, and he was fucking Hitler's bodyguard. Come on. Anyway, at the top of this article, which you will find on our Facebook page, there's a great photo at the top of the article. It's like a family photo from the 30s. Lots of famous folks in this. It's like family and friends. The people in this photo, of them, Joseph Mengele, the famous butcher of Auschwitz, is in this photo. Of course, Scorzini himself is in it. There's George Scherf Sr. is in this photo, and he was a known accountant and assistant for Nikola Tesla, by the way. And sitting beside him in a Navy uniform is his son, George Scherf Jr., who may also be known as George Herbert Walker Bush. This info is coming from Dr. Webster Tarpley. This is a man who got his bachelor's degree from Princeton University. I mean, from an Ivy League school. This is a guy who has a PhD in history. So, you know, this is not so easy to discount. It's a fascinating read. I highly recommend you go to our Facebook page and check it out. But basically, you know, there's just a ton of information I'm not even talking about in this article. I highly recommend you go check it out. You know, it's the start of the New World Order, or at least the latest few generations of the New World Order. And how did he go from being, you know, a German Navy kid in Germany to being a CIA guy whose picture was taken outside the Texas, you know, the school book depository in Dallas the day that Kennedy was shot. There's a picture of Bush standing outside the building that supposedly Oswald shot him from. You know, how did he get from being, you know, the 30s in Germany with sitting next to Joseph Mengele and, you know, his supposed actual father being Nikola Tesla's, you know, accountant, to being a CIA man at, you know, Kennedy's assassination, to being the director of the CIA in America, to being the vice president of the United States, to being the president of the United States.
Dude, Nikola Tesla, I'm a big fan of him. He gave us AC power, the grid, the fucking power system we use today.
Well, yes, and he didn't independently come up with AC power. There's another guy who came up with it about the same time. And a lot of important inventions happen that way, where spirit...
He's the guy that sold it. Actually, he did DC power.
He did DC power first, yes.
Well, I don't know, the way I'd have to look back into it, but he basically gave us our modern day electrical grid. Yeah. And whether or not he came up with that first, you know, he was a great inventor, great mind, and he found the way to patent that and to market it to the world we're in today, where we have power lines and shit. Now,
power lines, but he regrets that, or he regretted that, because after that, he figured out how to send energy through the earth and through the air, so that all you need is a receiver. You tune it into the frequency of the earth that you're sending to the frequency of the energy that you're sending through the earth, and you've got free energy. There's no way to send a bill to somebody or to put a meter on it. And so J.P. Morgan, he had basically snowed J.P. Morgan into being a venture capitalist for this research, and then spilled the beans to Morgan before it was done, and Morgan pulled everything, and the research went kaput, and so it didn't get any further than that. He also set the entire town of Colorado Springs into darkness because of his research when he was there. I mean, this guy you're right, he had a million inventions that never saw the light of day, at least not publicly. We're talking...
He met an untimely death. He met an untimely death at what turns out to be someone that was so lucratively involved in not only American politics, but American oil interests overseas, and a family that's been known to have, you know, ties to CIA cover-ups in Afghanistan and Pakistan and the Middle East, not only for oil, but for drugs, for all kinds of things that control this country now today. All kinds of things.
You're talking about Bush.
Yeah, Bush. This dude that apparently, like, I don't... That seems more plausible than anything else I've ever heard. All the bullshit I've been fed since I was a kid. You know, it sounds more likely that this guy would grow up suppressing every technology that he knew he would one day be rich and powerful in. You know, if he's, I don't see that.
And then now he's he's still pulling strings, and I don't know. I mean, I just pray that eventually we'll know how all this unfolded. But until then, we've got hints with the work of Dr. Webster Tarpley. So, you know, at least we've got that. But someday we've got to there's got to be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission so that the world can know the truth and our history books can reflect actual truth instead of lies like, you know, Arabs with box cutters took down the fucking Twin Towers. Shut up.
Well, they very well might have, but I don't believe it was because they hated Americans. I think there was something more sinister going on. I think there was a lot more hands and a lot more pockets than we'd like to think about all of that. I'm working on getting Richard Gage, who is the basically the guy behind Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. He had an opening last week. He would have come on last week, but we already had Doc Mara on, so we're going to try and reschedule Richard Gage for another evening, and he will come on and he will tell you exactly why there's no way that jet fuel fires and office fires took down those buildings, dude. Those buildings were imploded, and because they were imploded, that means that there was a serious effort of time before that ever happened, before that day was ever, that operation was launched, of preparation. I mean, it's just astounding. 9/11 is going to be the nail in the coffin of the New World Order, of the Illuminati, of the Dark Cabal. I mean, the evidence is right in front of everybody's face if they would just be open-minded enough to watch those buildings come down. Watch Building 7 come down and tell me that you think that that's because of office fires. A building that fell in free fall for 6 seconds, the first 6 seconds of its fall, complete free fall, no resistance across the entire building. Every last one of the columns, the support columns, just snapped simultaneously. Shut the fuck up. No, it's not. No, I feel you, dude. It's bullshit. It's the New World Order. It's shit going down in front of our face. It's supposed to make us think a certain fucking way. And think about it. You know, why aren't people more open to that? It's because they're out there going, they're too concerned. Yeah, they're too concerned with retaliation. They're going out there. Well, who's
get more oil so we can have peak oil.
Yeah, because that's the way these fucking
they're being played.
I feel you, dude. I feel you. It's all bullshit. It's the New World Order. It's them trying to get, into us and control us. Not just, suppressing things that are out there, but suppressing us, suppressing our fucking, playing mind tricks and psychology.
Lying. The entire civilization is based on a whole set of lies. But here's the thing about a lie. And anyone who's not a good liar, like me, I suck at lying. Anyone who's not a good liar, who's tried to lie, knows that you tell a lie and you end up having to tell another lie to cover up that lie. And then you have to tell another lie to cover up the first two lies. And before you know it, shit starts to unravel. Yeah. And you cannot hide the truth forever. The truth will out! And damn it, the truth is going to out on all of this stuff, and it's going to happen soon. I believe it's got to happen this year. I think that we've got powerful interests behind us that have nothing to do with, running this planet, that supersede this planet. If you pay attention to what David Wilcock has been saying recently, then you know that there are, and all the channels have been saying things. Basically, Wilcock's just finally chiming in on what the channels have been saying for a year or two, and that's that now, heaven is in on the game, has stepped in and said, we're talking about celestial entities, angels, or, ultra-dimensional entities that are so far spiritually advanced that, you know, they have to have intermediaries just to communicate with us, because they can't dumb themselves down enough to get down to these low vibrations that we exist at. And these are entities that are stepping in and making things happen where they didn't before. We're talking divine intervention. And we're talking, it's out of the hands of these bastards that have been running the planet, who thought that the game was, you know, that the fix was in. They thought that they had it all in the bag, and they didn't. They don't. And we've got help. And the ships are in the skies, and I just firmly believe that we may not be talking with them one-on-one yet, but they're here to assuage our concerns. They're showing up in the skies to make sure that those who have eyes to see know that they're here, and they're not, you know, they're not attacking us. They're just saying hi. We're here. Keep that in mind. They're not going to let stuff get out of hand. There's not going to be World War III, and all the crap that the New World Order thought they were going to bring to play. All their plans that they have, it's just not going to work out for them. And I firmly believe that this is the year that stuff is going to change.
Can I, one last question, I guess. We got about a minute and a half here. Can I just ask you a question, and listeners out there, if they're listening? My question, aliens and angels, are they the same thing?
To a degree.
I think so.
To a degree, yeah. Well, I would say that, I wouldn't say, like extraterrestrials from, you know, third dimensional worlds or whatever, or fifth dimensional worlds. Look, even around us, all those dimensions are existing, and we could hypothetically enter them, and there are entities at each level all around us. So, you know, it's a spiritual advancement thing, whether or not they live here or in another star system or another galaxy or another universe. You know, whether it's about spiritual advancement. And I think looking at them as angels or looking at them as aliens, it's all one. It's all one thing. That's the way I see it. So anyway, you're right. We're up. I know Taylor's out there, and he's told me that he would be willing to listen to a 2-hour show. We might have to actually think about ratcheting up the show, adding some extra time. But for tonight we got to go now. So, you know, check us out at facebook.com/extraordinary year, one word. Like us there, spread the word, share the stories, especially go check out new energy stuff, educate yourself, and then educate other people, because there's nothing more important. You know, share this stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Tim Bravo. I know David is on Twitter at Tainted Drums. Matt, we got to get you on Twitter, dude.
All right, I don't know. We'll see.
So anyway, that's it for us. We're talking 218 days before December 21st, 2012. So keep your ear to the ground, kids. And, you know, it's going to be an extraordinary year. So hang on tight. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Bravo. I'll be this trouble. Won't make you read between the lines too many times.